one race, one shocking win, and a post-race comment from a teammate that turned a career moment into a controversy. That is exactly what happened at Naval Base Coronado. And if you think you already know this story, you do not. Heim won in just his 13th Cup Series start. Then Bubba Wallace said something afterward that Heim heard loud and clear. And Heim's response to it tells you everything about where this rivalry is heading. Nobody had Heim circled as the winner going into San Diego. Nobody except maybe a group of Navy sailors who tapped their wrists on stage before the race even started. If you are a NASCAR fan who lives and breathes every lap, every pit stop, and every storyline this sport throws at us, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment below telling us what you think about what went down in San Diego. Smash that like button so more NASCAR fans find this channel. Now, let's get into it. Naval Base Coronado, located just across the bay from San Diego, California, became the site of NASCAR's first ever race on an active United States military installation. This was not just another street course. This was a purpose-built 3.44-mile, 16-turn Qualcomm circuit carved through the streets and airfields of one of the most iconic military bases in the country. 50,000 fans packed the venue on race day alone. Across the entire weekend, 125,000 people showed up to witness history. The energy was unlike anything the sport had seen in years. But before the green flag dropped, there was already a moment that felt like a sign of things to come. During pre-race driver introductions, a group of United States Navy service members walked on stage alongside Heim. In a moment that felt completely unscripted, those sailors started tapping their wrists, mimicking Heim's trademark victory celebration before the race had even begun. Nobody thought much of it at the time. By the end of the afternoon, it looked like those sailors knew something the rest of us didn't. Heim is 23 years old. He entered 2026 as a part-time Cup Series driver with 23-11 racing, carrying only 5 Cup starts from the previous season. He is the reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion, having dominated that series in 2025 in a way few drivers ever have. But the Cup Series is a completely different world. On top of his limited schedule, Heim has also been handling significant Toyota testing and simulator work, roles that speak to how highly the organization values him, but roles that pull time and energy away from his own racing. To understand what San Diego meant to him, you have to go back exactly 1 year. In 2025, Heim's first Cup road course attempt came at the Chicago Street Race. His team failed to qualify. He was knocked out before the race started. On his 22nd birthday, he called it the worst birthday of all time. That failure stayed with him. He talked about it openly in the days leading up to San Diego. The expectation heading into race day was simple: learn, gain experience, and run competitively. Winning was not part of the script. Shane Van Gisbergen started from pole and was the prohibitive race favorite. A road course specialist, he had looked completely untouchable all weekend. Connor Zilisch, his Trackhouse racing teammate, was one of the most respected road course talents in the garage. Tyler Reddick, the 2026 Cup Series points leader and already a 5-time winner in 2026, needed a strong result to stop Denny Hamlin's points charge. And Heim? He was an afterthought to most analysts. Heim started 13th and immediately fell back to 20th. His first 2 tire sets were the worst available, qualifying scuffs that were never going to perform well. Crew Chief Booty Barker kept telling him through the radio to stay patient, that those tires were always going to be difficult, and that the car would come alive. He kept his head in the race, even when the car wasn't responding. After stage 2, he took a deep breath, reset mentally, and decided to go on the attack. Ryan Blaney won stage 1, leading a race-high 12 laps. Ryan Preece took stage 2. Kyle Larson, Carson Hocevar, and Connor Zilisch all cycled to the front. The race remained surprisingly clean until lap 31. On a restart, Austin Hill and Connor Zilisch were running side by side at the front. Hill carried too much speed into turn 1, locked his brakes, and drove both himself and Zilisch straight into the outside concrete wall. Zilisch bounced directly into Van Gisbergen's path. SVG had no escape. He drove through both crashing cars and suffered terminal damage. Van Gisbergen finished 38th, earning just 1 point for the entire weekend after claiming pole position. Zilisch finished 37th after leading 8 laps. Hill was done for the day. "That one's on me," Hill said. "I'm filthy," Van Gisbergen said. "A real shame." Just like that, 3 of the race's biggest threats were gone before the halfway point. Tyler Reddick moved to the front and led 9 laps, controlling the race with precision. He looked like the driver who was going to convert the day into a win. But rear tire wear became a serious problem in the closing laps. On lap 73, Reddick slipped in turn 2. It was a small mistake, but at that level of competition, a small error is all it takes. Heim immediately pounced. The 2 teammates ran side by side through turns 3 and 4, neither giving an inch. Reddick tried a crossover move into turn 5, made contact with Heim's car, and pushed him toward the wall. Then came the defining moment of the race. Reddick backed out. He gave the spot back. "I ran him straight in the wall. That wasn't right. I wasn't going to pass him for the win that way, especially a teammate," Reddick said. 1 lap later, Reddick suffered a flat left front tire and fell all the way back to 25th. His points lead collapsed to just 8 points over Denny Hamlin. Heim led only the final 3 laps. He crossed the finish line 10.365 seconds ahead of Bubba Wallace, delivering the first ever 1-2 finish in 2311 racing history. It was Toyota's 4th consecutive Cup Series win, the first time the manufacturer had accomplished that feat since 2017, and only the 5th time overall in their 20-year history in NASCAR. The number 67 Toyota had never visited victory lane in the 78-year history of the Cup Series before that afternoon. "I'm speechless," Heim said. "Booty kept telling me these were our worst 2 sets of tires. We were going to be fine." He was right. Then came the emotional centerpiece of the entire weekend. That's all full circle for me. Going from one street course, just crushing my life, to probably the best day of my life here a year later. Denny Hamlin walked into the post-race press conference with an ear-to-ear grin. Really surprised. Truthfully, really surprised. But I got to race around him enough to know he had plenty of speed. Heim has already been announced as a full-time 2311 racing driver in 2027, piloting the number 35 Toyota. Now to Bubba Wallace, and this is where the story gets layered. Wallace started 12th and worked his way up to 2nd place within the first 10 laps. Then, on lap 19, his right front wheel detached and rolled down the track. His pit crew had failed to properly secure the wheel nut. He received a 2-lap penalty and had to sit stationary while the race continued around him. What he did from that point forward was remarkable. He earned 2 free passes under caution, drove steadily and intelligently, and crossed the finish line in 2nd place, the best road course result of his Cup career across 40 prior starts. "It's what if," Wallace said, tired of living in that. He praised Heim genuinely. "My body language and facial expressions will not show it, but I am really excited for Corey and Booty. Being a winner in the Cup Series is something that when we get there, we all want to achieve. To do that in his 13th start, it's pretty special." But underneath that praise were comments about managing expectations, about how hard the Cup Series is, about how rookies get spit out. They left enough room for interpretation. Heim heard something in them, something that lit a fire. On June 24, 2026, NASCAR made it official. Rear tire changer Adam Hartman and jackman Nathan Ricketts from the number 23 team were suspended for the next 2 Cup Series races, Sonoma Raceway and Chicagoland Speedway, for violating sections 8.8.10.4 A and D of the NASCAR rulebook. Both can return July 12th at Echo Park Speedway outside Atlanta. Wallace already had to fight through a 2-lap deficit to earn that 2nd-place finish. Now this team has to navigate one of the hardest stretches of the season shorthanded, heading into Sonoma, statistically Wallace's worst track with an average finish of 24.0 across 7 or more starts. San Diego reshuffled the entire 2026 Cup Series landscape. Van Gisbergen leaves Coronado sitting 17th in the standings, completely outside the playoff bubble. Sonoma is the final road course before the playoffs. For SVG, it is now a must-win situation. The driver who was supposed to dominate this race now needs a miracle to make the postseason. Reddick entered San Diego as comfortable points leader and leaves with just an 8-point advantage. All four 2311 cars finished inside the top 6 with laps remaining. An elite display of organizational depth. But the individual results told a Messier story. And Corey Heim, 23 years old, 13 Cup starts, 1 win, has arrived ahead of schedule. The sailors who tapped their wrists on stage before the race had it right all along. The clock was already running on something bigger. Every storyline from San Diego follows directly into Sonoma. SVG must win. Reddick must stop the bleeding. Wallace faces his worst track shorthanded. And the Wallace-Heim dynamic is far from resolved. Nothing is resolved. Everything is escalating. This channel is still growing. And if you have made it this far, you already know we cover NASCAR the way it deserves. No fluff, no filler, just the real story. We are working hard to reach 2,000 subscribers, and every single like and subscribe genuinely helps us get there. If this video gave you value, please support the channel. It means everything at this stage. Now here is the question we want you to answer in the comments. Were Bubba Wallace's comments out of line, or were they simply the words of a frustrated competitor who had a race taken from him by his own pit crew? Drop your honest take below. Sonoma is coming. And after what happened in San Diego, nothing is going to be straightforward. We'll see you there.